we frame things in a way that makes sense? So that instead of thinking about climate change as being polar bears on an iceberg, you think about climate change here in Oakland, here in the region, here in Richmond, as asthma, increased asthma rates, increased particulate matter that affects the health of children of color. So we have shifted from introducing climate change as polar bears on an iceberg. And that's not the face of climate change here in our community. One of the dominant faces is young children of color with health hazards. This is a health issue.
We need a new creation story, basically. And the creation story should be what we have learned, what science has taught us in the last 400 or 500 years as a foundation for how we deal ethically and how we deal responsibly, as well as aesthetically and spiritually with the natural world. And I have been extremely moved by Thomas Berry, and yet I'm, confronted with a paradox which we continue to be confronted with, which is there's no black people in this story.
Yes.
So what do we do about that? And I got angry about it.
Good.
I got angry about it, and then I decided, well, no, that's not the thing. The thing to do is just write the chapter that's missing.
Great.
So I've been at that for 20 years. Turned out to be a big problem, and a good problem, a wonderful problem to solve.
One of the things that's been important in our work is how do we actually involve people in the process of planning, participatory planning.
We came up with a platform which was investment without displacement. Displacement of people in existing neighborhoods is a very difficult challenge for us. Investment in operating expenses for public transit. Investment in housing in high opportunity neighborhoods. Environmental justice and environmental health. Economic opportunity and building power. These were the 6 objectives that we felt everybody could agree to.
And as we got those groups together, we realized that we needed to learn to trust one another, and we need to learn to tell our story in a way that included each of these different perspectives. That climate change is about public transit, but it's also about public health. And it's also about affordable housing. Because if you're displaced to Livermore or to Stockton, and you're commuting in, you're polluting, and you're also spending a very disproportionate amount of your income on gas.
So an amazing thing happened. After these 6 groups were formed, they started thinking, well, what would our plan for the Bay Area be? What would we like to see in the Bay Area? And they were in the process of doing this when the Association of Bay Area Governments and the Metropolitan Transportation Commission sent out a notice saying, well, we have 5 alternatives, and we'd like you to comment on this in 2 days.
This is what happens. This is structural racism.
Yeah.
This is structural racism. This is how it happens.
Our groups looked at this and said, these alternatives don't work. This is what we would propose. And put forward an equity, environment, and job scenario. One of the representatives from the Association of Bay Area Government said, I move that we actually replace one of these scenarios with the social equity scenario. And then another supervisor said, I move we make it unanimous. And they voted for it and said, fine, hey, let's do that. And it was this huge, it was like the South, what
World Cup soccer. Actually, what this showed is that in equity, leading with equity, the environment also benefited and outperformed all the other scenarios. And that made national headlines. We hear a lot about sort of thinking global, but acting locally. And what we would say is we want to learn to think like a region and to act like a region, because actually this is all interconnected. So the reality is that we are working in a holistic living system.